If you were an advisor to President Donald Trump, and I'm sorry to make you bring that image to mind, you might be tempted to tell him, okay, look, sir, I know you want to do all kinds of wild things with tariffs that are going to screw up our economy and destroying science and innovation, which is going to make us all poorer for years to come, and shipping people to overseas prisons, which is going to screw up the entire rule of law that our country is based on. But can we at least leave the simple things alone? Let's try to get the basics right. Now, picture Trump saying, duly noted, and immediately lighting something else on fire. That's essentially what he's doing right now with the most simple, basic, but sneakily important function of American government, the Postal Service. Yeah, I know it sounds boring, but it's not. It was so important in terms of freeing us from the British and establishing our country that it's written into the Constitution. And it continues to do incredibly important things right now that you might not even know about. Here's Washington Monthly's Anen Kim with a quick explainer on why the Postal Service is so important and how Donald Trump is trying really hard to screw it up.
Have you ever thought about just how amazing it is that you can drop a letter in the mailbox and it will arrive anywhere in the country within just a few days and at the price of just 73 cents? That's the US Postal Service. It's fast, it's cheap, it's reliable, and it's something that we all very much take for granted. Now Donald Trump wants to sell off the post office. He says the Postal Service is losing money and that privatization will make it better. As usual, he's wrong. First, let's start with a little bit of history. What's now the American Postal Service was actually established by the British Crown to help the colonies communicate with each other. From the British point of view, that worked a little bit too well. As it turned out, that early postal network was vital to the success of the American Revolution. Colonies used the mails to coordinate their resistance and share news. This function was so vital, in fact, that the founders enshrined the post office in the Constitution. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 7 provides that the Congress shall have power to establish post offices and post roads. The nation's first Postmaster General was Founding Father Benjamin Franklin, and there have been a lot of famous postal workers throughout the years. Presidents Harry Truman and Abraham Lincoln worked for the post office, but also people like Walt Disney, Charles Lindbergh, and Conrad Hilton of Hilton Hotels. For most of the nation's history, the Postal Service was a cabinet-level agency on par with, say, the Department of Energy or the Department of Defense. That changed in 1970 when Congress spun off the post office into an independent agency that was supposed to fund itself through the sale of stamps and other services. This worked great until the invention of email.
You've got mail.
Over just the last 15 years, the amount of first-class mail has dropped by half, from more than 91 billion pieces of mail in 2008 to 46 billion pieces of mail in 2023. Revenues from first-class mail have also dropped as well, from about $37 billion in 2008 to $25 billion in 2023. This is the number one reason that the Postal Service is losing money, and it's also a reason that privatization cannot fix. Could the post office become more efficient and more modern? Sure. But the answer is postal reform, not postal privatization. But here are a few more reasons why the US Postal Service should stay in the hands of government and not in the purview of a for-profit company. Number one, sending mail will remain affordable. That's because the Postal Service Board of Governors must approve any increase in the rate of stamps. For-profit companies, of course, can charge whatever they want, whenever they want. Number two, you'll be guaranteed to get your mail. That's especially important if you're one of the more than 60 million Americans who lives in rural America. Under federal law, the Postal Service must deliver to people in rural America because of what's called the Universal Service Obligation. Private companies, on the other hand, could choose not to deliver to you if it's not considered profitable. Amazon, in fact, relies on the US Postal Service to deliver packages to much of rural America. That's because it saves Amazon money. Number three, postal workers do much more than deliver mail. As federal employees, they're often on the front lines of disaster relief efforts. They transport and distribute medicines. They identify survivors in need of help. Postal workers also safeguard national security by monitoring the mail for threats like bombs or biohazards like anthrax. They also work with law enforcement to find contraband like illegal drugs. pornography, and scams. During the COVID pandemic, postal workers were considered essential workers. They delivered medicines, masks, and COVID tests along with countless packages while the rest of us were on lockdown. More than 200 Postal Service workers died from COVID as a result of workplace-related exposures. Private companies, however, are not obligated to do any of these public services. And number 4, an awful lot of incredibly important documents go through the mail. Your tax return, your passport, your driver's license and birth certificates, credit cards. And if you vote by mail, your ballot. In 2024, the Postal Service processed more than 99 million mail-in ballots. All of these documents are far too important to put into the hands of a private company, especially one that might be chosen by Donald Trump. And given Trump's many lies about election fraud in 2020, the integrity of the election system must remain accountable to the public and not wind up in private hands. The US Postal Service has been a vital part of American history even before its founding. It's far too important to sell off to a private for-profit company. We need to keep it in the public trust. I'm Anen Kim, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.